Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network 107.7 FM New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I hope the archives are turned off tonight, so I'm just going to say that. Remember to like us on Facebook, now on Rumble and Instagram. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with my co-hosts, Sean Kelly, Jason I. and Petro from Pittsburgh Paranormal Society. Jason and Sean are part of a group of passionate paranormal investigators who are interested in hearing your unusual paranormal activity in your home or your business. So remember that. They have high-tech equipment that will pick up what the human eye can't see. Together with their team of professional paranormal investigators, they will gather the information they find and they will go over their findings with you, and they'll put it on a flash drive or a CD for you to keep. You can find Pittsburgh Paranormal Society on their Facebook page, Pittsburgh Paranormal Society. Drop them a message, and Sean will get back to you. You can even check them out on chasingprophecyradio.com and leave us a message there. Wow. Jason and Sean, I don't know what to say, but
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yes. Yes, we haven't been on. Wow, for 2
Here's
weeks.
the 2022.
Yes, 2022. Yes. To
this
a
year
wonderful.
Started off not good, so.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think it's going to be that much better.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I do believe that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling it already. So, I mean, what can we do? That's life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the holidays were weird, not having like a whole bunch of family over and stuff, so it was definitely a different kind of holiday season. Just didn't seem very.
It was weird.
It wasn't like festive like usual. So the only way to goes up, right?
I don't know. I had a really wonderful Christmas Eve. We were small, and I found it to be more relaxed, more casual, not stressed out like I normally am on the holidays. So yeah, I thought it was it's just after that, New Year's was fine, but then we had all the other stuff that I'm not going to bring up because I have some strong feelings about it. And one of our viewers said that we weren't talking enough about paranormal stuff. It is a paranormal radio, but I want to stress it to you guys. We do conspiracies. And we try to stay on top of current affairs, excuse me. I got a little tickle there. But so we were discussing, Sean, over the weekend. Jason, you were busy on the road, what we were going to do for the next year.
Okay.
So, we're pretty much booked up until March. And we're going to leave it up to you guys in the audience if you have anything that you want to do. But me and Sean discussed, we discussed doing more paranormal investigations. He has a few. You want to tell us what those few are coming up?
Yeah, sure. In fact, this Friday, we're going to the Kinsman House up in Warren, Ohio. In February, we're going back to the Bel Air House down in Ohio. March, we're going up to Gettysburg. And Jason, what's the one in April? The Octagon House?
Yeah, the 1870 Octagon House down in, is that Virginia or is that West Virginia? I think it's West Virginia.
It's Virginia.
Is it Virginia? I can't.
What is it? What's the Octagon House? What is that?
It was like it's kind of hard to explain because there was a period of time where houses kind of like shaped literally octagonal was a real big thing in the 1800s. So this house was built and actually was a huge part of was that the Civil War era, Sean? That it was like because they have like all kinds of memorabilia and stuff in it, and apparently it's really haunted as well. It was part of the Underground Railroad and all this other crazy stuff. So that one's going to be. We're going to do some more research on it. So we get on there knowing as much as we can, but it's going to be fun.
You mean the shape of the house is octagon?
Yeah. Yeah. There was like a very short period of time, and there was very few houses that, like, it was like a new niche, to build a octagon shaped house, and only a couple.
Oh, okay. So they actually wanted the architecture they wanted it to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot of war stuff in there and memorabilia, and apparently it's really haunted too. So it's gonna be a good time.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm looking forward to it. So you guys are going to Gettysburg too, right?
Yeah, February.
Yes, we're going in March.
Yeah, I got them all backwards.
So we can have a
Above
show
Jason,
on
get
that
with it.
too. That's cool. Well,
Yes.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to bring on our only guest tonight. And then we'll talk more about what's going on with the paranormal stuff when we're finished. So our guest tonight is Peter Woodbury. He is a researcher with the Association for Research and Enlightenment, I believe. And Peter is the most perfect. He does regression therapy, I believe, in the world today. He's a representative of Edgar Cayce, ARE. And so we're going to talk a little bit about who is Edgar Cayce and what Peter does. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy, Peter.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad.
Welcome.
Hard to get a hold of you. So I'm so glad you're here because
Thank
I
you.
thought this would be a great start to the new year. Tell our audience, our listeners, who is Edgar Cayce? I hope most people know who he is. And what is your part in the association?
Well, Edgar Casey was born in Hopkinsville, Kentucky in 1877, and he showed very unusual psychic abilities throughout his childhood. And he just was kind of trying to be an average, everyday person. But then when he's about 20 years old, he lost his voice for about 9 months, and he couldn't get it back except for he tried hypnosis. And under hypnotic trance, he could speak in a normal voice, but then he'd keep losing it when he'd come back to consciousness. And so they kept working on it. And eventually he was able to diagnose his condition and prescribe the treatment for it, and got better. And so that became what was called a reading. And so for the rest of his adult life, he would give about 2 of those readings a day. And so he founded a center in Virginia Beach that keeps those, that has a record of all those 14,306 readings. And basically most of them were for people that were very sick. And he would just be able to go into this trance state and tell them, diagnose the condition and then prescribe the treatments. And when people were able to follow the treatments, they got better. But then eventually he started giving readings on 10,000 different subjects. So he's considered the best documented psychic of all time.
Yeah, he's the forefather of psychic ability. I remember when I was a kid, my mother had Edgar Cayce books, and I would read them, and that's how I got interested in doing it. And when you say readings, what are they? They just like they go into it. They go into a trance.
Yeah.
And
like if you got a reading from Edgar Cayce, and let's say you weren't feeling very well, he would go into a trance state. Usually his wife would guide him into the trance state, and then he would read your body like a doctor. He would go over your blood pressure and just basically hone in on this areas that you were struggling physically. And then he was considered, like you said, the forerunner of holistic medicine, because then he went into the mental patterns that were part of the problem. Basically, if you had patterns of jealousy or anger, or resentment, how that played a part in your physical health. And then he would go into your spiritual life and prescribe treatments for prayers and meditations and things that you had to do on all levels. So that's what basically a reading would be like. And then you would then, depending, you would try to apply it, and then you could write him back and he would give a follow-up reading to tell you how it's going. And then usually people would start to feel better. Most people that were coming to him were quite sick. It wasn't, even today, it's not common to go to a psychic for your medical care. It's really, you'd only do that. Most people only do that when they're on death's door or the doctors have given up on them. And that was the case with him. And then he founded a hospital. So in Virginia Beach, where I live, the ARE used to be a hospital, and that was founded in 1928, and it functioned as a hospital for for a couple of years until the Great Depression hit and money got scarce.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
what got you into Edgar Casey?
Oh, my story is
Peter.
My great grandmother was a medium. She
wow.
she was 100 years old when I was born, and so when you're a kid and your grandmother has imaginary friends, she was really fascinating to me. And
Wow.
after she passed, I was 7 when she passed. She planted that seed of curiosity about what could she see, what could she detect that I couldn't, and so I think that sparked that interest. And so I read everything I could about psychic ability. And then when I found out about Edgar Casey, it really it resonated with me because he connects psychic ability with spiritual ability, like psyche meaning soul. So he said that psychic abilities are actually soul abilities, and it's our ego that kind of blocks us from really being purely psychic. So those kind of I was also, my parents were psychiatrists, so I grew up with a psychological understanding, and they were Catholic, so I had a religious upbringing, even though I wouldn't call myself Catholic today. But all that interest in psychology and religion and spirituality and in metaphysics, I found that in Casey. And then I moved to the ARE, the center in Virginia Beach, about 20 years ago, and I've been working there ever since.
That's amazing.
Nice. That's a real good story.
I know it's amazing. Now, there's mediums and there's psychics. Now, you do mainly past life regression.
Yeah,
or do you do that, or do you do readings on psychic readings too?
No, I don't do psychic readings. What I do is I try to help people, kind of like what Edgar Cayce showed, that he had the ability to go into a deep trance state and access whatever you want to call it, soul consciousness or infinite consciousness, and then bring it forward. And I think that one of the things that's come up with the New Age is I think that the veil between the conscious mind and the soul mind is much thinner. And so people can kind of give themselves their own readings. Like I think, like in the old age, you would go to Jesus, he would do the healing for you. And I think in the New Age, we're awakening that ability for ourselves. So that's really what's drawn me. My background was as a psychotherapist. And what happens in psychotherapy is you help people, but they become very attached. It's like you see somebody once a week for years. And it just seems like it helps in one way, but it creates another problem in another way. And so I really like doing hypnosis, where you help people access that guidance and that healer that's within them, so that they become dependent on a spiritual process rather than on something outside of themselves.
Wow, that's cool.
Wow.
Go ahead, Sean.
Wow. Edgar Casey, he is just like a very interesting man. Can you elaborate more on his? Can you elaborate more on?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to say some of the highlights. I mean, there's probably 10 or 20 biographies of this man. As a kid, he had so many psychic abilities as growing up. He didn't know that other people didn't have these abilities. Like he could communicate with trees and with the elementals.
Oh, wow.
He saw nature spirits. And he could see discarnates, people that weren't in physical bodies, and he could pick up people's thoughts. He could see auras. And so he kind of learned that it took him a while to realize other people didn't quite see all those things. And his nickname growing up was the Freak. And then on top of that, he developed this ability to go into trance and then give these readings. And so his life was always kind of trying to make it look like he was normal while he had these unusual psychic abilities. And this was he was alive again 1877 to 1945, so there wasn't really a New Age movement at that time. There was just there was religion and a little bit of psychology and not much else. So he had to was quite closeted in his and he bore some. He liked church. He liked to teach Sunday school, And he wouldn't, in a way, he couldn't come out about these unusual abilities he had. It wasn't until his biography came out towards the end of his life, There Is a River, and that became a bestseller. And then when that became popular, he was outed and he was kicked out of the church, and just suffered a lot of that from the judgment that people had and the fears that people have of psychics at that time.
Weren't some people like trying to label him as like a prophet at some point?
Yeah, there's a lot of different names. There's one book that's called The Sleeping Prophet. Another book's called The Seer Out of Season. I think in the religious context, he would have been more considered a seer, because I think a prophet has to be conscious to get the information. He did this while he was in the subconscious state. So in his conscious state, he was pretty psychic, but he wasn't prophesying, so to speak. That came when he was in trance.
Cool.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah. So he was. Didn't he just go like you said, in a trance? He like fell asleep, sort of.
Yeah, it was. I mean, for his conscious mind, it was like he was asleep. Like he wasn't. Like they said, he'd give a reading sometimes, like for an hour, and when they'd wake him up, he'd ask, did we get anything? He wouldn't have any memory of anything that had happened, and sometimes he would have dreams, like physically he was asleep. Like they would wake him up and he'd tell them about a dream he had, but at the whole time that he was dreaming, he was also, speaking. He was channeling or bringing forth answers to the questions that people were asking him.
And they have classes at the ARE for this.
Yes. So he found it after that hospital, didn't work out. Then they started the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And that became a place where it's kind of like the ARE and Edgar Cayce were kind of at the forefront of the New Age. So it wasn't really quite called that then, but they decided that there was a place where, Americans were starting to talk about reincarnation and past life experiences and meditation. And so there wasn't really anywhere to go to talk about those sorts of things. And so they started this association, and once a year they would have a reunion and people would come together and kind of meet and talk about these things. And then it eventually evolved into being a center, which we have now, which, pre-COVID, we were hosting about 2 conferences a month, and not just on Edgar Cayce related topics, but, anything that's in the spiritual dimension, anything that helps a person grow spiritually. Let's say like, Deepak Chopra has spoken there, and Carolyn Mace and people like that.
Well, I want to tell you, I was a member for like 10 years. I was so into it. I did all the meditation. There was the Edgar Cayce, the self-guided meditation. I learned how to do that, where you surround yourself with the white lights, and then you can heal people. Yeah, I did that for my sister when she was sick with cancer. I did it, but I noticed I want you to explain to me if this is possible. I would do it all the time. I did it to my friends who were depressed. And I would actually, especially the people that were depressed, I remember doing it to, there was one, it used to be our co-host. I was going through a bad time once. And I actually did it with him, where I would, go home, lay down on my bed. I would do the self-guided meditation that you got the DVDs. Well, they're now, I think you can just download it from your site. And I did that, where you would, go into the light would come, and then you would think about that person's name, and then you would see the light leaving your body, and it would wrap around them, the healing light. And especially for people who they were having a issue with their, they were depressed or not feeling good that way. I would actually be depressed for like a day after I did it. I mean, I didn't know if anybody else had this experience, or have you ever heard anything like that? Or if someone wasn't feeling good, I would feel sick the next day after like right away when I would do that. And usually the people that I did it for, they actually felt better. I mean, instantly.
I think that's a stage. Right now there's a lot of attention put on empaths. And I think that it sounds like you're an empath. And I think one of the first stages of an empath is that you you feel someone else's feelings, and in some ways you alleviate their struggle, but then you take it on yourself.
Yeah,
And I think that there's some courses that they have about how to shift it,
I have
move
to
it
check
off
it
of
out.
you.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
so
have to look.
that you're using the light or God or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
instead of your own personal energy.
Yeah, that's what I actually quit doing it because I go, why do I feel like crap after I would do it? And I mean, I helped the people. I really was into it. I mean, I actually even sent prayers to your prayer request.
Mm-hmm.
I have the list. Let's tell people about some of the things that the ARE has, because I know a lot of them, but I can't really just
Sure.
describe it
I
very
mean,
well.
we have a website, EdgarCasey.org, and we're a membership-based organization, so you can join the organization. And if you join, your member fees include a magazine that we put out 4 times a year, and then you get discounts on, let's say we put out books. We're doing less recently, but we have a bookstore, and there's lots of ARE Press books that are made available. I'm trying to think of what else. Right now, we're doing a lot of teaching over the internet. So there's the conferences and the workshops that we have are available remotely. And we have some things like we have a prison outreach program, which sends spiritual books to the prisons that are open to receiving them. And that's from Edgar Cayce. He used to do that himself. He used to visit prisoners and that sort of thing. And then we have a university called Atlantic University where people can get a master's degree in transpersonal psychology.
Oh, wow.
We also have a massage school.
Oh, there's so much to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then when you visit, we have a meditation room, and we have one of the largest metaphysical libraries in the world. So those are kind of on-site things that people can check out. It's designed to be kind of a clearinghouse of spiritual New Age kind of resources. So I think you can go on the website and start looking around and kind of see all the stuff that's available to you. If you join, you can also get access to his readings, and so you can do your own searches of his 14,306 readings. So you can, if let's say you have a health issue and you have the ringing in your ears or something, you can put that in the search engine and you could see what he recommended for that.
I remember a reading once where there was a woman that was like going nuts. Like she was just out of her mind, and he went into a healing trance, and he found out it was her wisdom tooth that needed to come out.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. It actually happened with a publisher of one of the early books. I don't know if it was There Is a River or Sleeping Prophet, and they heard about this and they were saying, it must have been There Is a River because that was the only one that came out while he was alive. And the publisher was saying, well, this is incredible. But he says, my daughter's in the mental hospital, and she was completely normal. And all of a sudden, very quickly, within months, she developed schizophrenia, and nobody knows what to do. And so he says, well, if Edgar Cayce can recommend something, that'll sure help us publish his book. And so he gave a reading, and he said that she had an impacted tooth, and the pressure on the nerve was creating a mental disturbance. And so the guy had a X-ray. The dentist said, yeah, she has an impacted tooth, but that has no relationship to her schizophrenia. He said, well, remove it. And they removed it, and she went back to health.
Yeah.
In a few months, so
I was just remembering that. I was remembering because I have a wisdom tooth and it needs to come out. And the other day, I was feeling like I thought I had emotion. I was like crying, and I was freaking out. And I go, "What's wrong with me, Mom? I think I have a chemical imbalance." And then I rememred my wisdom tooth, and it's been needing to come out. And it's been hurting. And I said, "Oh my God, I remembered that. I just thought of that this weekend." I go, "Oh my God, I remember Edgar Cayce when he, about the woman with the wisdom tooth that needed to come out." Yeah, it's crazy. That stuck with me. Thinking about it now.
Yeah, there were so many stories like that. One of my favorites was one of his treatments involved something called oil of smoke. which I guess was some, apothecaries would, carry this kind of strange oil. And so they couldn't find it. And so he said, oh, there's this apothecary, this is him in trance. He'd say, Melvin's Apothecary in Dayton, Ohio has it. Contact them. And so they contacted them, and the guy says, oh yeah, we have it. And he went and looked, and he had it in stock, but he couldn't find it. And so they put Casey in trance again and said, he doesn't seem to be able to find it. He said, tell him to look in the shelf on the third row. It's behind the, oil of something else. So they called the guy back, and they gave him the instructions, and he found it. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Jason,
incredible.
what were you
that's
going to
cool.
say?
Yeah, that's just really incredible.
Like remote viewing.
People have like powers like that. Like, wow. It kind of makes you wish, like, I wish I had those kind of powers, for stuff like that. It's just amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Sean, you have any thoughts?
No, I'm impressed. I didn't like.
Go ahead.
I wasn't really big on Edgar Casey, and that was me. But by just listening to you tonight, maybe I have to look into that some more.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, that's when I first started to get involved with this, paranormal, psychics, ESP, all that healing, quantum healing. Yeah, that's what got me involved. I mean, I have an old book. It's from the 50s. I mean, it's a great book. It's small. It just talks about him. And that's how I got involved with the ARE. Like I said, I was a member, and I got out of it. And I still remember the mailing of the prayer list that you would prayer. There was a list of people that needed prayer, and you would concentrate on a few or how many you wanted to. You were like, you committed to either it was morning, mid-morning, afternoon, evening, night. And I did that for years. They still have it?
They still have it. Yeah, they call it the Glad Helpers.
Yeah, the Glad Helpers. Yeah. I mean, I've done it. I've been there. I really want to go to Virginia Beach. Now, since it's in Virginia Beach, and I know a lot of people say that Virginia Beach has a lot of healing. Is that why they decided to put it there? Because the beach itself has healing properties, they said?
Yeah, there were three reasons. One was they said that as a psychic, I guess psychics benefit from being near the ocean. And so it's the hospital that was built right on the ocean. Mm-hmm. And then the other was, like you said, there's like a healing energy there, like a energy vortex or something that accelerates healing.
Yeah.
And then he also said that the sand in that area of the country is high in gold and radium. And he said that gold is oftentimes deficient in people that get sick, and it's very hard to absorb gold except through the skin. So people that went there for healing, they'd go for a swim in the ocean, and then they'd come out and cover themselves in the sand. And he said this way they could absorb the gold, and the radium, I guess, pulled stuff out of their bodies. So it was the sand, the energy that was there, and being near the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah. They said that the Virginia Beach has a lot of healing properties. Did you ever hear that? Did you ever have that happen to you, where you got a piece of jewelry, and if you rubbed it on you, it left a mark? Does anybody know about that? Like why that happens?
Nope.
No.
I never heard of that.
Only when I wear cheap jewelry.
No, this is good jewelry. It's like if you got a ring.
No, I haven't.
If you get your ring and you wipe, like you rub it, like right now, it leaves like a well, it's not doing it now. It leaves like a mark. And when you said that your body's deficient in, what is that, gold or radium?
Well, you know what, gold. Jenny, being like I'm a diabetic, so it's like kind of referencing what you're saying. Like I've worn, expensive, like 18 karat gold and stuff, and sometimes it'll leave marks. And I think it's just because of more like acid per se, maybe. And like diabetic sweat. My dad had the same problem. It's just a chemical imbalance, I guess, for a different reaction. Maybe it has something to do with that. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I just was wondering if it had something to do with what he was saying about the gold and putting the sand on you, absorbing it. Sort of like
Yeah.
Epsom
He
salt.
gave readings. He gave readings for diabetes, and he oftentimes recommended this root vegetable called Jerusalem artichoke. Sometimes it's
Okay.
called a sunchoke, and it's
Mhm.
high in something called inulin, and it
Inulin.
mimics insulin in the body. And so for someone, if you eat he said, don't you have to eat much, just like an ounce of it a day. And he said that your body will absorb the inulin, and it won't need so much insulin. So it just helps you not use as much insulin.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I definitely wrote that
Wow,
down
that's interesting.
because I
Yeah.
could definitely use something like that. Thanks for that
Yeah,
info.
and
I
it's
appreciate
really
that.
easy. Let's say if you order it, what he recommended, he said just put like a little like a plant box near your in your kitchen near the sink, and you just put it in the earth there, and that keeps it fresh. And then every time
Okay.
you need something, you just
That's a
pull it
good
out,
tip.
and yeah, and it actually will grow, so you can create your own little plant of
Wow.
it just grows like crazy.
Yeah, cool,
Well,
man. Thanks. I appreciate that info. I
cool.
definitely
Welcome.
took notes.
Take
Yeah.
notes. Well, on our last few moments with you, Peter, okay,
Yeah.
can you tell us how you do the past, like if I was coming to you and I wanted to, what do you do? Like is this your past lives or?
Well, it's like past life has become it's kind of like the generic name. And what's happened is people do a lot more. You see, I think of it more like soul contact. So I think that right now you have, what's your first name again?
Jenny.
Jenny. So
Yeah.
right now when you think of yourself, you have memories of Jenny. You have memories from childhood. I don't know how far back you go, but you
Mhm.
remember a little bit of your story from childhood to now, and you identify that as who you are. But what happens is when you go into a trance state, you start to get memories or experiences that you don't associate with Jenny. So you think
Mhm.
you're making them up. So people have to get comfortable with feeling they're imagining things. Like the
Mhm.
first time that I did a regression, I went in, you go into a mild trance state, which means you're still aware. Like people think like, am I really hypnotized? You're just like in a meditative state. And the guy had me open a door, and I saw this old wooden ship. Like it was the harbor. There was an old wooden ship, and there was this guy on it. And my memory, like what I was thinking as Peter, was like, oh my God, did I watch a Christopher Columbus movie lately? Like, where's this coming from? But I kept talking to the guy, and I said, there's the ship, and there's this guy, and he's the purser of the ship. And Peter, part of me, was like, what are you talking about? Purser? What does that mean? And the part that was watching this movie, or that was in this movie, knew that this guy was the banker. Like he paid all the bills for the ship. He bought the food and he paid the staff.
Mm.
And so that helped me suspend my disbelief. And the way I think of it now is Peter only has Peter memories, but if you go into trance, you can start getting soul memories. And so this story of this man as the purser of the ship, as I suspended my disbelief and went with it, I had a whole story come to me. But now people have more experiences than just past life memories. Sometimes they contact their guides. Sometimes they go into the future. Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes they
cool.
contact deceased loved ones. And sometimes they get like these dreamlike symbolic answers to questions that they have. So I just think that you're basically moving from your Jenny identity into a broader identity, and you just have to get comfortable enough going with this strange way. It comes through the imagination, and Casey said the imagination is the bridge to the psychic. Most of us think of the imagination as like child's play, but
Mhm.
Casey, Einstein, Tesla, they all put a high premium on the imagination. And so that's what people have to be able to do. People that struggle with regressions is that they don't trust what they're seeing. They just say, "Oh, I'm making this up. I'm not going to pay attention to it."
Wow. And when you say imagination, do you think a lot of writers who imagine these stories are going into a deeper, like when I know when I write, I kind of zone off and I go into this different world and it's like an imagination. Do you think some of that
Oh
stuff
yeah,
is like a
yeah,
psychic thing too, that you're picking up
yeah.
other?
He connected the two. He said anyone with a good imagination can be a good psychic, because the
Oh.
imagination is the bridge to the psychic. And so if you know
Hmm.
anybody, it's the creative side. And
Mhm.
basically the the left brain, the left side of the brain, that's what is dominant when we're awake, because it helps us navigate this three-dimensional world. And then the right brain, the more creative side, is more active at night and when we're sleeping. And that's what's strange with the regression is that you're having a left brain and a right brain experience simultaneously. It's like being awake in a dream, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I've known myself.
The more people do it, the easier it becomes. Sometimes the first time, some people have a natural gift and they just can get really deep quickly. And then some people take a little practice to get the hang of it. My sessions now, because I've had my own sessions over, 20, 30 years. It's like I can get into the altered state much easier now. I just know how it works. I'm less skeptical.
Now you have classes that you do this. How do you do it? Like, if I wanted to get you to do a past aggression, how do I go into, since we can't do it in person with COVID? Do you do online?
I do them over Zoom. I have quite a long wait list right now, but I do them over Zoom. I probably wouldn't be able to see somebody until later in the year. And then I'm doing more teaching now because I'm much more interested in just teaching other people how to do this. So I teach a couple of classes a year. I was doing them in person, but that's getting more difficult. So I'll probably be doing 2 online classes this year.
Okay, so if I wanted to take a regression class, now do I go to your website or do I go to the association's website?
Well, the ARE, I teach a course through the ARE, and then I teach my own courses, and they're very similar.
Okay, so you would go to your website.
Yeah, I was chuckling because I just know that I make more money if people if they do it through me versus they go to ARE. But I'm part of the ARE. Well, I'm part of the ARE because I want to sponsor I want to support the work of Edgar Cayce.
Absolutely.
So either are fine with me.
Well, that's how I found you, Peter.
Through ARE, yes, definitely.
That's how
ARE is my bread and butter.
Okay, so I want to make an appointment with you to want you to actually put me in a trance. Now, I would go to your website and I would email you, or is it very expensive?
It's expensive. I don't know what expensive. I always say that if I go to New York City, they tell me I'm really cheap, and then I go to Arkansas and they say I'm outrageous. So it kind of depends on your income source.
Are your classes expensive?
I don't think they're expensive. No, I think
because I'm really thinking of doing this because like when you said with the creativity, I write, and it seems like my one novel is like my whole. It's like.
I think
oh my God, I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet.
You sound to me like you would be really easy to work with.
Yeah, I would love to.
I bet you would get into trance very easily. Yeah, anybody who wants to find out about me, my website's peterwoodbury.com, and that's where I do my private work and private regressions and teach some courses out of that. And then the bigger picture is the edgarcasey.org website, and I teach through them, but I don't do private sessions through them.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys have anything else to ask Peter before we let him go?
Nah, I'm good. It's very informational. It's good.
Awesome. Well, Peter.
Good. And if you have any questions about any of the,
yeah, I am definitely going to. I'm definitely going to contact you. I would like to learn how to do this. So.
Okay, great. I look forward to it. And if you guys have any questions, I know we talked a little bit about diabetes, but if you contact me, I can send you the circulating file on diabetes and see if there's anything on there that might interest you. But if any of you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, and I can put you in touch with more information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Man.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. So we want to say that website real quick one more time for people.
Sure. Mine is peterwoodbury.com, BURY, and Edgar Cayce is edgarcasey.org.
Well, thanks again.
CAYCE.
Great. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Wasn't that good, guys?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yes, it was.
Very informative.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad I got him on. I'm glad he connected with us because I was really worried that we weren't going to get a hold of him. But that's really cool. I mean, I like I said, I've been reading about him for years. And that's how I got interested in the paranormal, was through the ARE.
I'm
And
going
if
to be
you
honest
want,
with you.
yeah,
I didn't even know about, as crazy as it sounds, Edgar Casey until we talked about, having our special guest. I know.
Jason, you got to
But
read about him. There's so many. I think there's a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. No,
yeah,
you can learn how to do this, and you can heal. You can heal yourself. You can actually heal yourself and other people.
yeah, I was just like reading over some of like his history and stuff, and he sounds like a really awesome guy, and everything he was doing. So I'm definitely interested in going to do some more digging around at it, see what I can come up with.
And when I told you about that prayer, that healing, I'm serious. Like we were talking about a few shows back about empaths. Seriously, I would take on their problems for like a day, and it was like, oh my God. So I stopped doing it.
Wow.
And it was weird.
How did you block yourself? How did you block after that day of sickness?
Well, I didn't know that you were supposed to do any kind. All I did was, my sister had cancer, so I tried it on her. And I remember she was having surgery one night, and she said that when I was doing this, you go into a deep trance and you see the white light and you keep saying their name over and over. And then you have the light leave your body and wrap around them and go to where they need healing. And she was in surgery, and she told me when she got home, she's like, it was weird. I know I was out and I had surgery, but I remember I sound like you were whispering in my ear, which is kind of,
that's cool.
Yeah, that was freaky. Yeah. So I haven't done it since, like I said, my one friend that wasn't doing well, and I felt depressed for like 2 days. So I didn't do it anymore. And I didn't know you could do some things to block yourself with the white light and say a prayer. And I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I probably should have did that. But it's sort of like we were talking about those psychic vampires. It sort of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys ever watched, oh God, have you ever watched this show called What We Do in the Shadows? It's a comedy. It's like a half an hour on FX. You have to watch it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I did one time.
It's so funny. And they have a psychic vampire on there. He's such a weirdo. It made me laugh. I'm serious, Jason. If you can go find it, if you have FX, go look on demand.
I'm gonna write this down too.
Watch it because it's so funny. It's about these vampires. These vampires live in Coney Island. Is that what it is? And they are. It shows they crack me up. They're just so stupid and silly and funny. It's only on for a half an hour.
What was the name of that show again?
I believe it's What We Do in the Shadows. Let me see if I can find it on Google, but it is hysterical. I watched them, and you can go now and watch every season. I'm hoping, when is the next season come on? What We Do in the Shadows. Let me see. Pretty sure that's what it is. What We Do in the Shadows. And it used to be a play, I believe. And, is this it? It's based on a feature film, the same name, What We Do in the Shadows. It's a documentary style look into the daily, or rather nightly, lives of vampires who've lived together for hundreds of years. It was Staten Island, not Coney Island. It's funny. I mean, it's stupid. It's really stupid, but it's funny. But it's, they have psychic vampires in that and everything. But
I'm going to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's really, it makes you laugh, and that's what we need right now, to laugh. I mean, hi, Joni. I see you that you're on the chat.
Yeah.
But, this week, I you know how, like, Joni she doesn't like to hear goofy stuff. She doesn't like to hear politics or anything like that. But, what you see out there now with all the crap that happened yesterday, that's paranormal. What is paranormal? It's like our opening, anything beyond the scope of normal. And that's why we still have to have stuff like that. We still have to talk, because we can't hide from the fact that our lives are in upheaval, whatever you want to call it. And America is no longer the America that we knew. It's changed. And I'm sorry, folks. And if you have a problem with that, you can just turn us off, because seriously, we can't ignore what's happening. Do you agree, guys? Do you agree?
There's a lot
I
going
do
on right
agree on
now.
that. I'm like
We
totally
can't ignore
disappointed.
it.
But
It's
you know who
happening.
I'm really no, but listen, you know what really gets me mad is the damn media.
Well,
Okay, the
yeah,
damn
they're
media
the
did it.
well.
And that David Muir on ABC, I don't care. He
Why are
brainwashed
you,
my mother.
John? Let
Okay,
me ask you a question. Why are you watching it?
my mom watches it, and she gets all into hating Trump again, and
Well,
I don't want to
yeah.
talk to her
See, you
about it.
just
You know
gotta
what I
turn it
mean?
off.
It's
No, it's not about
no,
pulling sides about who who's the president, who's not the president. It's America,
right.
and we should be allowed to talk about who we want. We should be allowed to talk on Facebook the way we want and Twitter the way we like, and we shouldn't have to worry about someone censoring us and putting us on a list, a terrorist list. I'm not going to go there, but somebody
Jenny,
that's
I got this motto, Jenny. I will respect what you believe, but please respect what I believe.
yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that. I'm
Well,
not going to get into it.
do you think that it's 2021? Okay, do you believe some of the things that are happening? So many weird things are happening lately. You don't know what to believe. You don't know what is real. You don't know if what we see outside is truly what we see, or is it some kind of Project Bluebeam, like some kind of hologram? How do we
Ah,
even know what's going on? That's another
that's
topic we're going to have on the show. Is Project Blue Book. And you guys know
yeah,
what that
that
is, right? It's a
yes,
hologram that they have
yes.
machine
Hmm.
that they use. And a lot of people see angels in the skies, they see UFOs, and they're not really UFOs and they're not really angels. They are a hologram. There's just you don't know
Yeah,
what's going on. And I don't know. I think the paranormal world is really awake. And I think it goes to in the same way as a lot of Americans are awake. And I think the
oh
paranormal
yeah,
is
absolutely.
alive and it's and yes, and I see that Wendy Bell was threatened, the sponsors threatened her. Um,
Yeah,
they try to take her off well, not the sponsor, somebody called her sponsor to try to get her off the air. I mean, you should be allowed to talk. You should be allowed to talk how you want to today in society. You shouldn't have to worry what comes out of your mouth.
exactly.
What happened to freedom of speech?
Isn't it in the
Yeah.
Constitution?
Yeah, they
Yes.
totally
He
just,
took.
you know,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of hate out there today. There's a lot of people just really fed up. And that's why I don't like to talk about politics,
Absolutely.
because this is a place, but you have to go back to it, because this is a place where you get information. But I want you to be able to get away from what's going on out there, so you can just turn it on and not have to worry about, oh, here we go again. We're going to talk about Trump, and we're going to talk about Biden. We're going to talk about the rights. So that's why I don't want to do that. So hopefully I'm going to try, since I got it off my chest, so it's gone now. I know, Sean, you like to talk about it, but this is chasing prophecy, which means the mess we're giving you information. But I'm going to, hopefully it'll be paranormal investigation, but along with the paranormal is in our title is conspiracies. And there's a lot of goofy conspiracies out there, like Project Blue Book and Project
Oh,
Bluebeam and the Looking
Right.
Glass, time
yes.
machines, and stuff like that. But as we close to the end of the show, it's coming up. So next week, what did we say, Jay? Sean, we were talking about next week. Let me see. We have Joyce
We got that
Keller.
Joyce. Yeah.
Jo-
Yeah,
Joyce
Jules.
Keller. She was on the show. Remember, she went back in. Oh gosh, when we first started
Oh Lord,
with
that's been a while.
with
Yeah.
Beacon. Was it with Beacon?
Yes.
When we
Yes.
were with Beacon of Light. Yeah, so she's back on the show, and she's a psychic medium. She's famous actually all over the world. And she's really good. So if you guys are listening and you want
Yes.
a mini
Very
reading,
nice lady.
definitely you're gonna have to go. I have it listed on the, I do believe did I put it, guys? Did I put it on the on Facebook?
I'm not
I'm not
sure.
sure. If you're
Mm,
interested in a
I'm
mini
not
reading,
sure.
you can either go to chasingprophecyradio.com, send us a line, or you can go to the to Chasing Prophecy Facebook page and send us a message. And we're only going to do a few because, like I said, we're doing a different format. We're going to do our guests first, and then we're going to just discuss what's going on in our shows, anything paranormal. But I had some weird paranormal stuff happen this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some goofy stuff. My son was visiting. We were doing the Italian dinner. We did I still mess it up, 7 fishes. And all of a sudden he felt this weird presence behind him. So I'm thinking it was my dad, but it was really cool. And it wasn't demonic.
7:55.
So what?
7:55.
7:55. Is it time?
Yeah, it's time.
Oh, I thought you said 8:00, Sean. I thought we were ending at 8. No,
I was told 7:55.
Okay,
Ring the bell.
We don't want to get our next. Was it Michael that's next? Okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad to be back with you guys. Remember,
Me too.
so glad
Same
to have
here.
you back and healthy.
Yes.
And we're going to start this new year off great. And if you guys have any comments or questions, drop us a line. If you have any interest in what you'd like to hear on Chasing Prophecy, send us a message. So Sean, Jason, just if you guys have a paranormal investigation, you want to get Jason or Sean or their crew to come out, you can go to Pittsburgh Paranormal Society and send Sean a message, or you can contact us on the website, ChasingProphecyRadio.com. So, well, thank you guys. Thank you. Have a great night. And thanks for joining us. It's great to see you back. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.